Hi, Vincent Hall, and welcome to another episode of our Vincent Hall Art Center featured artist. This week we're featuring Mr. Ron Musselwhite, who, as many of you know, is one of our most prolific and professional photographers that we have in our photography class. Ron's been doing photography since high school, as he'll share with you in his interview, and never ceases to find subjects that are interesting to both him and the rest of us that get to enjoy his work. We hope you enjoy this feature, and without further ado, here's Mr. Ron Musselwhite. All right, well, Ron, I'd like to thank you for being this week's featured artist on the Vincent Hall Featured Artist Series. And know most folks recognize you as being one of our most prolific and professional photographers in the group. So I thought you might share with us a little bit about how you got your start.
Okay. Um, well, I started in high school. My high school science teacher was also the school photographer, being a very small school. And there was he ran the dark room there, which was attached to the science lab. And I had been taking a few pictures with little box cameras, that sort of thing. For those of us who are old enough to remember what box cameras are. But he started me working with better cameras, with more sophisticated gear, and in using the dark room. And I was very interested in it, and just kept going for the last 60 years.
Okay. Well, everybody got a good place to get your start. Did you keep going with it once you entered the Navy professionally?
Uh, yeah, in the Navy, for the most part, it was when I had an opportunity to take pictures on my own. Um, the captain of the ship I was on found out that I was a photographer, so poof, I became by magic the ship's photographer, uh, and so I shot some there. Um, I also got my first single lens reflex camera, which is one of these babies, the big
Ah,
ones. Uh, I got that in the Navy. I I bought it from a sailor who'd won it from a Marine in a card game, and I didn't ask any more questions about it.
no, don't.
It was a Nikon. I've been using Nikons ever since.
Oh, okay. I'm a Nikon person too, so I appreciate the loyalty to the brand. So that's good. So once you started working or taking pictures and everything, what do you feel are some of your favorite subject matter?
Uh, yeah, having done it for 60 years, I've been all over the place, it's whatever I felt like at the time. Um, uh, Taking pictures of people, and that started way back in high school. There were about three of us who were into photography, and we would round up classmates and take their pictures whenever we could, and so forth. Taking family pictures and friends, a lot of people that way. Um, and I spent a lot of time. Well, in the Navy, I spent a lot of time ashore when taking pictures whenever I could. Um, a lot of my really tough Navy duty was in the Caribbean. Uh, so I got to take a lot of pictures down there. Um, as it has evolved, I find that I'm shooting a lot of landscape. I enjoy different kinds of photography, but if I were settling on one, I would say it'd be landscape.
Okay. So in doing landscape, I was just thinking about this because I know we had talked briefly about what some of your favorite subjects are, and going to Idaho and things to get landscapes and stuff. Do you prefer the Ansel Adams style with everything in focus? Do you like that partial in focus, out of focus landscape, a combination? What do you see your style is?
Hmm, good question. Um, Probably whatever strikes me at the moment. Um, a lot of it, well, when I do the big vistas, and the pictures you'll see later, there are a couple of those, and you want everything in focus if you can there. Um, but when you narrow it down a little bit, maybe you want want the picture framed by some out of focus leaves of this tree over here or something like that. So it really varies.
Okay. So you just, whatever strikes you in the mood is getting the shot. You like to do.
Right, right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also know you mentioned you do some work for your church when we talked in class. So maybe you could share what you do there.
So I do. I consider myself running the photo ministry, so to speak.
Okay.
Again, it's a situation where I happen to be the guy with the camera. And several years ago, one of the pastors asked me to photograph a couple of events that were coming up, and I'm still doing it.
Oh,
Whenever there are different events, when people join the church and they want to do a picture, when there are baptisms, when we have our fundraising events or concerts or whatever, I end up taking
oh,
taking those pictures.
right. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Oh gosh, I hope this isn't recording. I'm sorry if my computer is making some dingy noises, but that's the state of technology right now. Anyway, so when you're doing the photography for your church and things, and then when you're doing the photography for the class, we do a lot of work down in the so-called dark room, but it's really not a dark, it's the photo lab. How do you feel the transition was for you from the dark room and using film to now using digital?
It takes up less room now.
Okay.
In some ways, it's less complicated, and in some ways, it's more complicated nowadays. Um, my my wife was delighted when I transitioned rather to digital because she didn't like the darkroom in the house.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Especially, she didn't like the smell of the chemicals.
Right, of course not.
um, I moved over into digital photography. Well, I started in digital photography when it got good enough that you could make a decent sized print
Oh, okay.
shot there. Um, but for a long time, I had the small digital camera, plus I had my film based larger cameras. And then when they got to be a lot better, uh, the first affordable Nikon single lens reflex that was digital, that's when I switched over to digital. And the dark room became a computer sitting on the desk.
Of course, it does. That's exactly what it is. So for people that are thinking, I might like to try doing photography down in the photo lab, but the computers overwhelm me, what would you say to that?
Um, First of all, I'd say by all means, give it a shot.
Okay.
No pun intended.
Right. I think it's a good pun.
Um, you can use any sort of camera, including the one in your phone. There's an adage, a photographer's adage. It says the best camera is the one you have with you, and you can work with those. And Mel is down in the dark room and in our dark room, our lab, uh, to teach you how to use the computers. She's very good at it. It's nice to have someone who knows really what they're doing and is able to teach it. Also, the photographers who are there are glad to talk to you about it, and just jump in, give it a shot. If you like it, keep going. If you don't like it, it's another thing you've tried.
That's true. No harm, sorry, in trying something new. That's always true. So when you've produced a lot of work, and I know your work has received accolades in the art shows and even in entering contests outside of the Vincent Hall community, what are some of your favorite photos that you've done of recent? Some favorite subjects?
Uh, One of the things that I had the most fun doing in the last few years was at an air show down at Pax River Air Station a few years ago. At that time, I had a camera and a long lens that were practically new, and I got a chance to try them out and spend 3 or 4 hours shooting airplanes zooming by, and that was a load of fun. You'll see one shot in the group that's there of an F-22 climbing high and fast. And I
Ooh.
love that picture. Um, let's see. Um, the, the landscapes that I've shot out in Idaho and other places, I enjoy that. As I get older, the main problem with landscape photography is sometimes you have to walk so far to get a good shot.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
but but I'm enjoying that a lot, and of course, like anybody, I enjoy taking shots of my family. You know.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Um, as we're wrapping up our interview here with you, I didn't know if there were any thoughts you might want to share with someone about the passion of photography and like just to give anybody, even if they're not in the class, like what they should appreciate about photography as an art form, what you think about the art of the photo.
Well, first of all, it's more fun if you don't think of it as art.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I just it's just something that I like to do, and I don't consciously think about it as art. Yeah. Um,
Okay.
and I think that if it's something you enjoy, uh, you keep with it. And what I've found in the past also is it's sort of a peaks and valleys type of thing. I will get really interested in something and do that for a while, and then just lay off of for a bit, not do so much, and then something else comes along. This has been a peak since we've been here because getting into the photography group here and learning so much about Photoshop allows me to go back and pick up some photos in the past that I've had and kept around, but I didn't think they were all that great. And some of them, playing with them in Photoshop, makes them in some pretty nice pictures there. So.
That's true. That's what I found out is that Photoshop can take a mediocre picture and make it stunning. I mean, it can't do everything. It can't take complete terrifying picture or something that's overexposed or underexposed. But I hope people realize if they come down to the lab, they can play around with some of the existing pictures they have. They don't have to worry about taking new ones right away. So, do you have any plans for your next shoot, your next adventure?
Not really. My usual summer shoots out west or somewhere like different places
Mhm.
have are not going to happen this year. So
Oh, of course.
yeah, just have to wait and maybe think up some indoor things to do just as the opportunity comes along.
That's true. I think we're going to definitely saturate the coverage of the Vincent Hall campus before this is over. So we'll see it from all angles anyway.
Praise so, yeah.
So before we go, I noticed that in our shot, we have that beautiful photo you did of the cabin, and I thought you might tell everyone what that's about.
Um, that the cabin in the woods there is a little cabin outside of Skagway, Alaska. I shot that on a shore excursion when we were on a cruise up there, and I always really like that picture.
Oh, I like it too. I think it's won some awards too, I
I
believe.
think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice.
But it always brings me back to that cruise.
Mm. That's a good point about photography. It can always bring back memories and good thoughts and things.
It can. I have a few thousand photos on the computer, and every once in a while I just sit there and go through some of the old ones just to remember things.
Oh, that's nice. That's fun. I so appreciate you being our artist of the week, photographer of the week, even though I don't like to call it an art form. But any final thoughts you'd like to share with everyone?
Just I guess if you think it's something you might like to try, give it a shot.
That works. And I like the pun of the shot. So
Okay.
that's good. Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you for being our featured artist. And we look forward to seeing your work that will follow at the end of this interview. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mel.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. Thanks, Ron. I hope everyone's enjoyed this week's edition of the Vincent Hall Art Center Featured Artist Series. I know I've enjoyed learning more about Ron's career in photography, and what follows are some of Ron's favorite images that he's enjoyed taking over the years. I'm sure you'll enjoy getting to see those too. Until next week, Vincent Hall, I hope you enjoy this feature. Stay well, and we'll see you soon.